Still ain't talking.
The doors of the Love Church are now open. Dear world, you name it, we cover it from the world of singles to the behind the scenes of the greatest movie ever filmed, called Marriage. We dig into everything from dating 101. Why won't they commit? It's complicated. I can't do it if it's the three of us. They're a good person, but I'm not attracted to them in that way. 2, they really didn't disclose who they were before I said I do. How do I do this if they can't keep a job? The bills are paid, but the bedroom is suffering. Did I marry you or did I marry your family? Because we only can take care of us. Let's open up our marriage. Why do I have to buy into your beard gang illusion? You could have told me you were down low and we could have remained friends and not married. And last but not least, did you marry me or your pastor? Have we gotten your attention yet? If so, tune in to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you want to hear more of today's real issues in the world of love. The doors of the Love Church are now open.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. I'm your host, Charles Dixon, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Adam Ford. How are you, sir?
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing on this fine Thursday afternoon dealing with this heat? Well, thankfully, the heat has kind of abated a little bit. It's not as bad as it was before, but thankfully, we got a little bit of a...
Well, Adam, what is for the people who probably don't know, what is abated?
I can't believe that. Abated? You know what, dude? I can't.
I know what abated means, but I'm sure somebody is like, abated? What?
It means a cessation. And I got to find that word too, right? It means an ending, almost like a coming to a close of. You know what I'm saying? Abated to kind of like terminate a little bit, but it's on more of a gradual type of thing to abate.
Somebody must have spent a lot of punishment in the closet with the Webster Dictionary.
But it paid off. It paid off. You don't remember that? It paid off, nigga.
Right.
Don't play with me.
Oh, man. All right. What's new? And I mean, besides all the crazy stuff continuing to happen in the nation.
I mean,
every day is something. You're like, man.
Dude, I'm like, yo, we made it through last week. Malcolm Jamal Warner, in terms of his untimely, departure, and then the Hulk Hogan thing and all that kind of stuff. Thankfully, we've hit a moment where nobody is, people are dying every day, of course, but nobody that we necessarily know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to, I'm not trying to hear nothing else right now. I'm just trying
to, enough is enough, huh?
Trying to be chill, man. Like I said, we done made it through the heat wave mostly. I think it's supposed to pick back up later on, maybe next week sometime, but Lord, are y'all praying out there? Y'all praying?
Somebody need to be doing something.
Lord have mercy. Jesus.
All right. So let's talk about, there is a resounding conversation that tends to always kind of circle back around. And that is, nowadays, there is a thing between men and women on the conversation of what do you bring to the table. In short, for those may not who understand what that's meaning, basically, what me investing in you gets me what? Or me committing to you gets me what? Me marrying you gets me what? And it's sort of like in a way where people are saying, in other words, what's in it for me? And, historically, we didn't hear much of this kind of talk back in the day. We saw Uncle Joe and Aunt Catherine. They were getting along. If she didn't work, he was doing this out in the field, whatever he was doing, he came home and they made do with what they had, and vice versa. Sometimes you may have had the woman who may have been the breadwinner and the guy, he was working too, but they didn't talk about who did what and who didn't. They just made it work. In this era that we live in now, and I think it's largely due to the fact that the women of today are not the women of yesterday. Women of today are much more evolved in terms of economically. They're much more interdependent. they have they basically can live in their own lane without the help of a man if they wanted to. They may want the love of a man and the family and companionship, but most of them can just function on their own.
Right.
So what that does is, even for women, if she's the kind of woman that maybe she's on her standard game, when she meets a man, he may be nice looking, strapping, if they will, all of this stuff. But in her mind, she knows what she has amassed, what she has worked hard for, and she's thinking she's going to give him that grill list of questions because she wants to know, can you measure up to where I'm at? And so now, more so, men are asking women, what do they bring to the table? And this is like a chalkboard scratching moment because a lot of women don't like that question. You ask questions. A lot of women don't like to hear when a man say what you bring to the table, because a lot of them are saying, here's the funny part, a lot of them are saying, I am the table. Don't ask me what I bring. The legs, the base top, the enamel, the wood, whatever that's who I am. Now, men are saying on tonight, they're asking ladies, so if you don't know, men are only asking you this question, not because they don't necessarily want to be leaders or want to position themselves to say, even though you make what you make, and I know you may make close to more than me, I just still want to be in this position because I love you and I want to be this and this to you, right? The reason men are turning around and saying, what do you bring to the table, is because nowadays women are, in most cases, they're demanding more. They're demanding more. They are expecting more. It's a lot of things. And so men are taking the modern, if you will, the modern man is taking the position that, well, if you are asking me for this, and if you are expecting that, and if you think this and this and this is going to work this way, then what's in it for me? What do you bring to the table? And here's the kicker. What do you bring to the table is not always economical. It's not just money. It's basically saying, as a man, what does me committing to you do to my life? Like, how do you affect my life? How do you elevate my life? How do you add to my life? How do you complement my life outside, ladies, outside of the physical? Physical things are not tangible. They are enjoyable, but they're not tangible. So you got to understand, the thing is, because I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of times I think we have tricked our minds to feel like the exchange of the body is the payoff, whether it's the man paying her or whether it's the woman paying him. That's not to me, the intimate part is just a part of what happens when you connect and when you are together. But it shouldn't be the toll pass to get access. You understand what I'm saying? That it shouldn't be that. So again, if you think about it, and I'm gonna turn it over to you. If we asked ourselves, if we're thinking about what we bring to the table, if we removed sex from the equation, I wonder what some people's answer would be like. If sex wasn't on the table and you came as a woman, he came as a man, and you guys liked each other, you were talking, there was interest there, but when you started to dig a little bit beneath the surface to discover things of commonality or things like that, is there a moment where someone is saying, he or she is nice looking, but I don't really feel much more there? And that's likely because there aren't any intimate illusions to escalate it. You understand? When intimacy comes into play, you start thinking all kind of things because it's intimacy in play. But when it's not there, it makes you think beyond. So yeah, turn it over to you.
Man. So let's do this. Okay, so I don't think it's an unfair question to ask. What do you bring to the table, or what are going to be your contributions? I think if you're in a healthy, well balanced relationship with someone, that's a fair question to ask, and it actually should be a question that you ask at the onset of the dating process. And not that you ask it as direct as that. What do you bring to the table? But I believe that in the course of your interactions with the other person, there's going to be a process of assessment as to what I believe this particular person can bring into my life,
Mm,
and all that they entail, whether it be the physical aspect, the emotional aspect, the intellectual aspect, the spiritual aspect, the financial aspect. I think if we are doing our jobs in terms of dating potential spouses,
mhm,
that we should be in a process of vetting and assessing the person that we're with, so that we can properly and accurately determine what their contribution is going to be to the overall relationship.
mm,
If after 6 months you're not aware, and you haven't really been able to determine what that is, then you really haven't been paying attention to the other person.
yeah, true.
Let's be honest. You haven't been having real conversations with this person to at least ascertain in your own mind what their contributions are. Now, having said that, yes, you should also at some point in time be direct with this. Don't play around with it. Don't dance around, run around Robin Hood's barn with it. Just be direct and say, hey, you know what? We're on this path of relationship, and in terms of what direction that we're headed in. What do you think is going to be your contribution to our relationship overall? And this is especially important for those who are heading toward engagement, are probably in the midst of the engagement toward the marriage aspect of it, so that they can have a better sense of the direction of the relationship. And
Mm,
a lot of times, a lot of us don't want to have this conversation. I'm not really sure why we don't want to have this conversation, because if I'm involved with you and then you're involved with me, we both have to figure out what paths our lives are going to take together.
that's it.
You know what I'm saying? So why are we sitting here not being upfront with one another and really understanding what direction that we want to head in? It doesn't make any sense. It actually is counterintuitive, because now we're not even working toward the same goal, because we don't know each other's goals, because we haven't had that conversation yet. So what you bring to the table, I believe it's a fair question to ask. Now, since Charles has gone into the whole area of the whole sex thing, and sex is not a tangible thing you bring into the relationship. Listen.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
First of all, let's if we're gonna be real with it, if we're gonna get down to it, let's talk for real. Now, being a Christian man, being a pastor, that's not a part of the initial conversation.
Yeah,
That's part of the marriage conversation.
yeah.
If we're dating, we're not talking about sex. And I know I'm talking to people who live in 2025, not 1972. However,
And Christians in 2025.
right,
Yeah, to put that in there. Yeah.
oh, yeah, I do. I understand that.
Yeah.
But listen. I need y'all to get this part in terms of when it comes to that whole intimacy, sexual aspect of it. Whenever you involve that in a outside of marriage, your ability to accurately assess and understand your mate is going to be cloudy, because that's what sex does. It doesn't help you think clearly. Your decisions are going to be based off of how you're feeling physiologically and physically. Brothers, we all know. You know that when you're thinking about that one thing with her, You're not thinking about nothing else, Charles.
Yeah.
You're thinking about trying to get that one thing from her.
Yeah, that's it.
It clouds your ability to be able to judge accurately. So you got to take, again, you can't really consider, I mean, when it comes to the marriage part of it, okay, yeah, that's part of that conversation. But in the dating aspect of it, come on, let's try to do better in that area. Okay. Yeah. Now, if I'm going to talk about it from the marriage aspect, then that needs to be a conversation that we have in terms of our contributions to each other. And again, like you've already said, Charles, I think often what we do is we think because we look a certain way physically, or we can do a certain thing sexually, or we might have a certain amount of money in the bank financially.
Yeah.
We figure, well, that's what I'm bringing to the table. But if I only consider one aspect of who you are and leave out all the other aspects, you're not bringing your whole self to this relationship, are you? You're only bringing your sexual aspect, or you're only bringing your financial aspect. You're only bringing your physical aspect. Well, if we're both going to be in this relationship, like we say that we are, right? Yeah. Don't we need to bring 100% of us to the table?
Yeah.
Okay, you might be the table, but the table, you still need to bring something. You're the table. You need to bring something, table. You just can't sit there. You got to bring something too. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times what we do is, because of the fact that we only see mostly the financial aspect of it, we ignore the emotional contributions that we ought to be making. We ignore the spiritual contributions that we ought to be making. And we completely ignore the intellectual aspect of our relationship, because we all think our relationships are completely based on feelings, not on what we actually think.
Yeah.
And so we need to be able to bring our total selves to the relationship and be able to say, I am contributing all of who I am and all of my resources for the completeness of the relationship, so that we can succeed. Because without you being 100% committed to the relationship, your relationship is not going to succeed.
Wow.
It's not. If you bring in only 75% of it, where's the other 25% going? You know what I'm saying? What you doing? So, bring all of you to the relationship. And here's the thing. As a man, I want all of my wife in the relationship in terms of her contributions.
What?
Just like she wants all of me to contribute to the relationship.
However that looks like. Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like.
Man, that's good. So I think if we look at this if we step back and look at it from a holistic approach, whether Christian or not, you should look at the other person. If you're having that conversation in your mind about what is this person potentially bringing to the table, you should just be saying to yourself, am I potentially connecting with someone who would not put my life in the red? Because basically, that, you know how when we in the red, we're basically bankrupt.
Right.
Negative balance. And some people that we bring into our lives, it can take tolls on us many ways, not just financially, all sorts of ways, and you'll end up emotionally broke.
Yeah.
Not financially, but emotionally, you just enabled. You can't do anything. You just disconnected because it has drained you in such a way. And I know we all know people, friends and family, that have been in relationships and they begin to look different there because we're seeing a different tolling happening in their lives that we're not used to. And it's like, are you okay? You all right? But it's that relationship, right? The relationship can change you. It'll change the way you talk, your attitude, your irritability. And on the flip side of it, it can make you super happy, energetic. If things are great, everybody's like, what you so happy about? You happy about your relationship. So it just depends. But when it comes to, I say this all the time, to me, when I hear what you bring to the table, I hear a man or a woman wanting to be reassured that they're stepping into the ring with someone that's willing to offer a fair exchange.
Yeah.
You are this is your strength, this is my strength. This is your weakness, this is my weakness. Now how do we come together and complement each other in these spaces? And I think when we start there, that's a good part to kind of pick up. I mean, and I think we need to get out of the business of seeing just potential, because love, it's a business, and it's like many of us, we see more potential than we do reality. And so when you're thinking about from a business partner standpoint, you don't see, when, let's just say, when banks or companies or whatever, when they merge, they have done their due diligence
Right.
and have vetted
Yeah.
company results, in year earnings.
Yep.
They have checked it out to make sure who we getting in bed with works for our overall mission.
Right.
So I think people don't need to get offended when people are asking you what you bring to the table. Now, it can sound arrogant or offensive, depending on the person listening to it. It can make you feel a way, but at the end of the day, it's that person's life and their right.
Yeah.
They have a right to be the gatekeeper of their life.
Yeah.
And they have a right to say, yeah, I know you're nice and I know you look nice and this and that and the other, but I need to go a little deeper, because my life, my ideals and my values go a little deeper than how you look.
Yeah.
Or how you shaped.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
we got to have them kind of conversations, because many people are being, like you said earlier, they're overlooking all of those things because of the emotional attachment that has occurred, and you all in love, and it don't matter. I know he said that he's going to keep looking for the job. I'll just take everything in the interim. You understand what I'm saying? And so, listen, job and setbacks certainly happen.
Yeah.
But you got to still look at it like, I look at it this way. Because I hear somebody in the atmosphere saying, well, people can bring something to the table and they can lose their job tomorrow, and then what? Well, here's the difference. There's a difference between a person being a skilled and equipped person that has experienced a loss, and a person who's not skilled, not experienced, and just don't have a job or the drive to find one.
Right.
That's like somebody you're a doctor. Okay, you had a not so good experience at hospital X, but because you've been doing it for years, you can go to a clinic, another hospital, and we can slowly get back to where things are. But if you're a person you don't really have a work history, you've been kind of on people's couch and bed in relationships forever, homosexual, you know what I mean? You kind of bounce around because of your looks, or because of what the arm presence you present.
Okay.
So people will buy into that, and you get to have a free ride for a little while. Yeah. And so some people will take that on and then later resent it because the person didn't turn out to show and prove, you know. And I think that's what in that, just saying that, it all comes down to this. If you're wanting for a man, I'm only saying this because I'm a man. Picture it as a woman if you want. As a man, if you're wanting me to show, as a woman, it is your reaction to prove. Show and prove. He shows, you prove. There is no such thing as show for nothing. People are showing. The only reason men go out of their way to step up and show up is because they want a reaction. They're not just doing it so you can be like, oh yeah, I saw you over there, thank you. Girl, let me tell you something. He's going to be like, so wait a minute.
Okay, I get it.
Be reciprocated. He wants to be acknowledged.
Right.
That's why he's stepping up. I'm not saying that being a good man isn't a standard duty to do if you're a good person, but some people go out of their way to go above and beyond because they're like, yeah, I'm gonna make this person feel special. So I got some bandwidth to do this, so I'm gonna do it. And so you want to just feel like that part is acknowledged. And so now, like I said, nowadays it seems to be a lot of focus on one gender or the other. It's like it needs to be all about me and or him. It needs to be all about me, and you need to do all of these things and go out of your way to let me see that you're basically willing to serve.
Yeah.
In so
Yeah.
many words.
Yeah. 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 And you know, it's interesting. I'm thinking about this conversation, this question. You know, so you don't want to end up in a relationship, and I'm actually going to go to a different point after I finish saying this. You don't want to end up in a relationship where you're the only one making the contributions, whether they are financial, whether they are emotional, whatever the contributions are. You don't want to be the only one making the contributions. Reason being, after a while, you will become drained because there's no replenishment taking place, right? Because to be in a relationship with somebody means there ought to be a reciprocal replenishment that's taking place within the dynamics of the interactions of those two people. You know what I'm saying? We ought to be replenishing each other. Every time we see each other, we ought to be replenishing. As I give, I'm being given to. As I give, I'm being given to.
Yeah.
But you're the only one that's doing the giving, if you're the only one that's doing the carrying, if you're the only one that's carrying out whatever responsibilities you are, again, hear me really, really good, you will become drained. You will become drained. This is what I said in the beginning of what I said earlier, is the fact that you have to do your due diligence. You have to do your research. You have to do your vetting. You have to do your assessment of the person that you're with. Do they have the capacity and the capability to contribute what you need out of the relationship? Having said that, let me go with this. We need to determine, as people in relationships, what do we deem as valuable contributions to our relationships?
Yeah.
Some of us have different ideas as to what the value is, which is completely fine. Value to one person is going to be completely different to value from another person.
Yeah.
It's going to be different. Now, there are some foundational things that are valuable across the board. Okay. But you as a person need to determine what is valuable to you. What is priority to you? What is important to you as a contribution? What is it that my wife gives me that I consider important, an important contribution to the whole of our relationship? If you don't know what this is, you need to find out what it is, because often if you're not aware of what it is, you will find yourselves frustrated because of the fact that you have not identified that valuable thing that you need to receive. Okay. And so it's important that you understand that. Here's the other part I want to kind of throw out here. And I want to hear from everybody on this. That sometimes we have a tendency as people, because we are people, we are who we are. We have a tendency to put a premium on the tangibles. Or the things we can touch, the things that we can measure, if you will, you know, your physical body, what you're driving, the house that you're living in, the clothes that you're wearing, or the position on your job, the title that you have, the office that you occupy, the money in your bank, the number of friends that you have, fame, notoriety. Okay, these are tangible things, if you will.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we put a premium on those. If he's got, what is it, Charles? 6, 6, and 6?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Then I can check these things off.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if from that particular person's perspective, that's their contribution.
Yeah.
And that's what they deem as valuable to them. Okay? But I would challenge us, as we are listening to that, I would challenge us to consider that there are some intangibles that we look over and we don't even consider them to be contributions. when in fact, they are the make or break of a relationship if we're not careful. For example, how about loyalty? It's an intangible, but it's important to the life of that relationship.
Yeah.
What about affection? It's intangible, but again, it adds sweetness to the relationship. What about faithfulness? That adds consistency, but again, these are intangibles. And we often don't consider the intangibles versus the tangibles because the intangibles are things that we don't even think about. We see hips, lips, and fingertips, but we don't know whether or not if she's good or he is good at being consistently on time paying their bills.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so we have to understand that the contributions that somebody brings isn't always something that is tangible. Often, more often than not, it's the intangible things that we have to consider. You know what I'm saying? And if we continue to ignore the intangibles when it comes to being in healthy, wholesome, balanced relationships, we will never get what we're supposed to have.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm looking at the comment that Valerie just made. And so here's the other part, though.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those things we don't get to see. Like, okay, she says commitment, dedication, faithfulness, love, affection, time management.
Okay.
If you are not, let's just look at it this way. You can be with someone and you all are moving along, and I guess it's taken step by step to go further.
Mm-hmm.
But, we have a way of withholding. And if we withhold until we are convinced, and we don't say it out loud, but we don't give that person that assurance to make them feel like, oh, I think I made the right decision. And you almost by default leave them. You know how dogs are at the door scratching when they want to get in? They're mad, they scratch. So it's almost the equivalent of a cat howling or the dog scratching the door because you closed the door on them. You're in the same house, but they have no access to you. Right, they're closed off, and so if they're constantly like, "Well, come on, I want to be able to experience that commitment and faithfulness," but you said you got it, but you're not showing it to me because I haven't crossed over that emotional confirmation for you to give it to me. And a lot of this has to do with, listen, we don't like to look at it this way, but back in the day, it was, will you marry me? I'm glad she said, yeah, let's run off. Nowadays, I need you to prove to me what about my life will be different with you in it. Because I can do all of these things myself. I can cook, I can do this, I can clean, I wash my own clothes, I know how to do this, I pay my own bills, I make a good money. So bringing you in does what? How do you justify? Like at corporations, you know what they do nowadays? It's all about, in the job market, it's always showing value.
Mm-hmm.
And your employer will tell you, well, we just need to make sure that we're documenting our wins so we can show value for our justification to keep this head count. Otherwise, we start laying some of y'all off, right? So it's like it's a constant way of showing the value. And so that's where we are today. A lot of men are like, all right, yeah, you cool, you look nice, or whatever, you're in church or you're this or whatever, wherever you reside in life.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can look at you and say, you look like you potentially could be this, that, or the other. And once upon a time, it was as simple as, oh, you look so good. We ain't even asked where you work at. You look good. You look good to the eye. We didn't care about your credit. None of those things.
Right.
You look good, and if you like me, come on, you going with me. And then when you get in the house and you marry the person, the people are now in resentment because they're realizing I married this person off of looks and feelings, but I had no idea that they didn't bring anything to the table but a body, right? And so now you left with that. And so nowadays there's this pitting of a war together with men and women, especially in the African American community, Because I feel like, honestly speaking, and this ain't no qualm to us, but I feel like this table conversation is a cultural conversation.
Okay.
I don't really hear, like, when I talk to colleagues, whether they're Asian, whatever their races are, I don't really hear a lot of them saying, you know what, Charles, I just want you to know at lunch, can we talk at lunch? Because I told Shaheen she didn't bring nothing to the table. They don't have them conversations, but
Right.
we
But we have
are at war with each other. We concerned about, to us, we don't want to be played. You're
Right.
not going to make me look like a fool.
Right.
I work this good job. You're not about to use me. So
Yeah.
I need to know why are you here? Basically. Besides the physical, what are you here for, and how can you improve my world as a man or a woman? That's where we at. And so we have to have that real talk and be honest, because people want to know that if we're going to go into business together, there's going to be something we can build upon this. There's
Okay.
going to, just like any other business, when you go into business, you want it to be successful. You don't go into it to fail. At least your mind doesn't go on. You want to go into it that
Right.
we are putting ourselves in a position to be successful, to make it in a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh Lord have mercy. Okay, we this might catch on fire. We might burn down at the process of this thing. But okay, I'm okay. So you know what's interesting that you bring up the whole cultural thing when it comes to African American women, African American men.
Yeah.
Now, by and large, most women nowadays are very career minded.
Yeah.
Focused on climbing the corporate ladder, if you will, providing financially for themselves, acquiring position, and all types of things. Well, in and of itself, it's not bad. It's not bad, not at all. I do not consider that to be a negative in any way. But I think what has happened as a result, and is that we've kind of, how can I put this? And then this applies to both men and women. That when you put certain things on the shelf, and you know, for example, if you put a relationship on a shelf, and then after you get all that you have gotten that you wanted to get, and time has passed or what have you. I think for some reason it seems to be a little more difficult to find somebody who you believe can make a significantly valuable contribution to your life.
That's it.
And that I'm not saying it to indict anybody, call anybody out, or to shade people. But I think when your priorities are set in a certain way, you're kind of like, I don't know, I guess you're kind of closing yourself off from the possibility of having a relationship with somebody else. And so what happens is, because of the fact that you're not dependent on anybody else, you're independent. And so here's the thing though, Charles, right? So you're in your independence. It's hard to find that person who you believe will make a significantly valuable contribution in your life. Reason being, because you don't need them, or at least in your mind, you're thinking that you don't need them. Yeah. Because I got what I got. I got my house. I got my car. I got money in the bank. I got this. I got that. You know what I'm saying? So you don't see the need in your life for somebody else.
Yeah.
So here, let me just talk about me for a hot second. Let me talk about me, and I can talk about my wife for a hot second. So for me, in terms of coming out of a divorced relationship, moving to a whole new place, I know I wanted somebody else in my life. I wanted to share my life with someone else. It was definitely a want. More than a want for me, it was a need that I had. I wanted to share my life with somebody else. I wanted to be a part of somebody else's life. And I wanted to make contributions to
Mhm.
their life. And as much as I wanted them to make contributions to my life. So that means to some degree, I could not be so independent of others that I end up excluding them from my life. It's funny because I remember having conversations with my wife, particularly when we first started dating and then we got married, about her her independence as a woman,
Yeah.
her ability to, because she was standing on, before I met her, she was already on her feet.
Yeah.
Already doing. She was already hustling. She was already making things happen without me. So she didn't need me in order for that to happen. You know what I'm saying? But when you get into relationships, you find yourself wanting to depend on someone else.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing to want somebody else to be in your life so that they can depend on you, and you can depend on them. I think I've said this word before, and I'm going to say it again. I want everybody to understand this. It's called interdependence.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing that I can help you with what you're having trouble with, and you can also help me with what I'm having trouble with. And in this way, Charles, we're able to contribute to each other's life.
Yeah.
I'm not so independent of you, and you're not so dependent on me. We're
Yeah.
both interdependent on one another.
Right.
To me, that's balance in a relationship.
Yeah.
To me, that's where you want to be in a relationship. That I want you, but I also need you. And you want me, and you also need me. It's
Yeah.
okay. At least for me, it's okay. Now, I can't speak for nobody else who's going in the comments or who might be watching, but to the place where it's okay to be that way. I
Yeah.
think that's a part of what it means to be a man and a woman. I think that's what it means to be a human being, right? That
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. I'm not always strong all the time.
Oh, well.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not always trying to figure everything out. I'm not always, watch this, I'm not always Superman.
Yeah.
I'm actually more Clark Kent than I am Superman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the reality is I need somebody else. I need a Lois Lane. Come on, let's be real.
Oh, wow.
She makes a contribution just as much as Clark makes a contribution, to refer to my comic book characters. Those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. But the reality is, it's okay to be needed and to be wanted and to depend on somebody, because I'm not always strong every single day. Come on, let's be real. Why do we always have to be superheroes every single day, solving every single problem that we encounter? How is it that I can't find somebody who can help me when I need the help and contribute to my life? That's all I'm saying.
Unfortunately, Adam, we have been conditioned, men specifically have been conditioned to think in their minds, the greater superhero, the greater potential successes you'll have with the opposite sex.
Hmm.
If you are John, think about it, because when you hear sometimes women give you the play down about a person that was significant to them in their life,
Mhm.
they're going to say, I could depend on him. He was a man of his word. Whenever I needed him, he came through.
Right. Okay.
As simple as those things sound, those are superhero qualities,
I get it.
because a lot of men don't show their cape to every woman they come across.
True.
Now, we got the capes, but we ain't going to pull it out for every woman.
Right.
You pull it out where you feel warranted.
Right.
And so what I found out, and this is just so funny that you mentioned about the needing someone part, because I was driving the other day and it just a light came on as I was driving, and I just observed my environment, and I looked and I said, we always live this life like we don't need anybody. Like you said, like we got it all. As long as I can handle this,
Yes.
I'm okay. But I looked at how the world sets up its constructs.
Mhm.
On that highway, there are guardrails there for a purpose.
That's right.
The guardrail is indicative of your person.
Mm.
They help you not get off the track.
Right.
Even in the lanes, they got the white lines.
Right,
They
yeah.
have the reflections
Yes.
to show you, right? They
Yeah.
have the exits when you need to get off
Yeah.
and recharge or whatever, or go to another shift to another direction. But I feel like when I saw that, I was like, man, like that guardrail thing stuck in my mind, and I was just like, even when man was constructing the world and the roads to travel, he knew there needed to be a regulation.
Yes.
Or it would be chaos.
Yeah.
So in marriage and in elevated relationships, you need your personal guardrail.
You do.
She looks out for you, you look out for her.
That's
when
right.
you trust each other, it's like, I heard what you said, babe, when you said that they asked you that at work. But before you retaliate and say something, I think you might want to maybe just, sit this one out. Because I see situations like this go to the left. And I don't want you to lose your job and all those kind of things. Right. Those are examples of being guardrails, or helping somebody not make a bad financial decision, or any of those things, or something with their personal safety. Those are having guardrails. And so we can't live this, as much as we think we big, bad, and strong enough, we can't live this life alone.
We can't.
We try to, but we really can't. Like, we really need the person that's ideally set up for us to help us navigate. That's what I believe God intended. For you to find the person that you trust enough to feel you can build with, you can live your life with, and things will be, that. But the way we're doing this now, it's like we're living life in a way that we're allowing our bad experiences to deflect us from what we deserve. So we're meeting people and giving them the blues because of what we've been through. Okay. So now, if you think about it, if you're leading with your blues, nobody can bring anything to your table, right? It's just no. And if we're being honest, here's another angle to look at it. If we're going to talk about this table conversation, let's just be honest. Just like at Thanksgiving, just like at Sunday dinner, the tables are connected to a host. Who is going to claim the host of the table? Like, if we're going to go to Aunt So-and-so's house, she's hosting Sunday dinner at her house. Okay. So while we're coming to work with her, she holds the ultimate responsibility for the table because it's hers.
Right.
So if we're going to if men are going to be the managers of the table, are the women going to let them set the table? Right? We gotta look at this fair. We can't have our cake and eat it too. Okay. If you want the man to manage the table and not ask you what you bring, then you got to be okay with what he sets the table with. Like, when we go in there, we set the dressings of the table and we do all these things. Every man has an idea of how he wants to set his table. And then sometimes what's happening nowadays is the women are saying, I mean, that's fine, but I would put this pink one over there in the blue and this. And he like, I know, but I'm trying to set the table. And she's just like, that's okay. But, well, you know what? If you don't want me to set the table, you know what? You ain't got nothing for me anyway. And then it's just like, so we out of there. So that's why I'm saying we got to say to ourselves, if you want men to step up and not ask you questions like what you bring to the table, then there has to be a trade-off.
Okay.
You can expect him to arise to the occasion if you're interrupting him being a host. Right. Any woman that has ever been married and hosted a dinner party, you know how important it is and the responsibility of being a host. You want to make sure people's experience in your care is good. Right. So if a man is the host of a woman, he wants to make sure she's allowing him to be that concierge to her, to be the right man and do these things right without you coming in and interrupting it. Because the only way you're really going to see what a man brings to the table is you got to let him set it and watch what he's doing. This isn't to say he's not gonna listen to your constructive feedback, and you might be like, "Well, baby, that was good, but I would have probably did that, but that's okay." If the relationship you have is good, he'll be receptive to it.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly coming in and overstepping and just thinking you got it, and because you make more and all this, and he's gonna say, "Well, guess what? You can take the table with you when you leave. I don't need it here. You take it.
Wow.
Since you can handle it, you take it." So
Right.
I think that's where we are nowadays, and we just got to have that true and ugly conversation. But again, if we want this thing to balance out with this table, we got to be realistic and fair about it. And like you said, in this day and time, gone are the days of Grandpa William and Uncle Joe. Men today want to see the return. They don't want to. The men today are different. They don't want to just go off of, "Oh, it's okay about you don't bring anything to the table. I know you are the table. It's fine." You're not going to really find no man
that voice though.
because guess what? They sell too many tables worldwide. So they ain't going to just embrace you at the table alone. So the point is, you got to come up with something a little different. Just that's all I'm saying. Something different to the table. It's something. But think about this. You're asking a man, just like he's asking you, you're saying, "Sign up with me." How many times have we walked in the mall and somebody say, "Hey, excuse me, you ever sign up?" You remember back in the day when Sprint phone, they trying to approach you to upsell you something, right? And so when a man is trying to upsell a woman into his life, she has to feel like this is this is a good deal for her.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to feel like it's a good deal for him. And it's not necessarily, like I said, it's not just all financial, but it is financial too, though. Don't get it twisted. It's important. The men want to know that, let's just say, I know men like to shoulder it all and be strong, but make no mistake about it. If he falls, he wants to have the confidence that his world won't fall with it, and that he connected with somebody that knows how to pick the ball up and go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think you had asked this question earlier. I think you did. I don't know if we really got an answer to it, but I'm going to ask it again, and I want us to kind of like wrestle with this and talk about this for a hot second. So the question I want to ask is, because you did say this, is that sometimes we have a tendency to withhold our contributions.
Yeah.
And so my question is, why don't we contribute the way that we should when it comes to our relationships? What is the reason why we don't contribute? Because I think there are some people even listening right now who are in relationships
and withholding,
and to the demise of the relationship, of course. But I'm just kind of considering what is the reason why. So here's what I've come up with real quick, and I want everybody to kind of like chime in on this. I think part of the reason why we withhold our contributions is because in previous relationships, the contributions we made were rejected. They were not accepted. And as a result of that rejection and that non-acceptance, when we walk into new relationships, we don't give nothing because we fear the rejection again, which is fair. I mean, this is that I don't want pain. I don't want none of that. I don't want that. So I'm going to withhold because, there's a fear of that my contribution is not going to be accepted. Here's the other thing that goes along with it. Appreciate it, yeah. So here's the other thing that I think we need to consider too, and that is the fact that when I do contribute, when I'm able to move past my previous relationships, do you value my contribution that I make? And I think sometimes I don't want us to assume that the other person, accepts it. But I think it is a fair question to ask. Do you value what I bring? Because if you value what I bring, I'm not going to bring it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm just not. It's not. Why should I waste my time, my resources, my energy to bring you something that you're not going to accept
or appreciate,
or even appreciate. I think it's something that we have to talk about. We have to deal with this in the light of day so that we understand what the other person wants to receive from us. And again, this is a conversation that we should be having. What do you need from me? What do you need from me that will be valuable to you and be considered a contribution to the overall relationship? Because if I'm just bringing you any old kind of thing and, not treating it in the best way, I'm bringing it to you and I'm thinking that this is the best that I can do, but you're rejecting it, then what's happening? What's going on? Because the next time around, when it's time for me to contribute something, I'm not going. I'm.
see,
You know what I'm saying?
So Dion just hit the hot button. All right,
Okay.
now we're gonna shift it. All right. So you said earlier why do we withhold from
Right.
contributions?
Yeah.
Number one, like you said earlier, because the past and past experiences, and we're afraid of I guess something recreating and re-emerging.
You get triggered, yeah.
But what always gets me about that is this is where I believe the sickness wakes up in many of us. We have that reservation where I like to refer to nowadays, we have all latched on to this seat of contingency. I will if you.
Right.
I won't if you don't.
Okay.
And that's the mindset is I need to see these things before I give.
Right.
And to be honest, the best part of love is the dumb part. And the dumb part is you just giving of yourself with the risk of not knowing what's going to come or not.
Right.
But when you are a contingency person, you are a relational sniper. That's what it is.
Wow.
When you're a person that's contingent, that means I like you, but I'm very much of sound mind in this. So you are in my crosshairs and I'm watching you. If you don't do these things that are on my checklist or my consistency, expectation, timeline, then I don't know where this is going to go.
Right.
It shouldn't be like that. I'm not saying be dumb in the sense of it.
Right.
But be open to flow with it.
Right.
Don't be so rigid that you just miss it. And if you have to be that rigid, then you probably shouldn't be in the relationship.
Probably.
If you are that afraid of something reinventing itself, it is telling you you are not quite over the monster yet. So you should deal with that before you get into something. Yeah. Listen, I'm preaching to the choir. I've been to this myself. I have entered into things with the monster on my shoulder, right? But the point is, we get into these things against our better judgment. And we know we are carrying deep wounds or deep resentment or we still in love or we still missing person X, Y, and Z. But we show up because we want something else. Right. So the insane part about it is you want something else, but you're not willing to give anything.
Right.
I want something, but it's going to magically appear from you only. Just like the law of power making power, the reason the battery in our car work because there is a positive and a negative charge.
Okay.
Well, that means guess what? You're needed. Your contribution is absolutely necessary to make this vehicle called us move.
Yeah.
You don't contribute, your negative or power or positive, it's not going to work.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. And it's funny because, you and you, like you said, we all do it when we walk into a relationship. Well, not all of us, most of us do. We have this contingency backdoor plan.
Yes.
In the event that, girl don't do right, boy don't do right. Well, I got
up next.
I got an escape clause
yes.
prepared just for that instance.
Yes.
And we kind of like in our minds. And then again, like I said before, it's all based off of previous relationships that did not go the way that we wanted them to go.
Yeah.
And to kind of like expound upon what you already said, because we got out of those relationships that were damaging to us and traumatized us to a degree, we did not take the time ourselves to get healed from the previous damage. So when we walk into new relationships and they are expecting us to contribute to the relationship, we're withholding based on the contingency that this might not work out. Oh, wow, Charles, we're literally bleeding into the relationship. We brought our damaged selves. We are the contribution. We're our damaged, injured selves. We're the contribution. Because we're not expecting this thing to work out. So,
yes. And so, Dion, okay, I'm going to say this, but this isn't to you, Dion. I'm just using your passage as an example. So Dion's response was, I've done the work, but when I was there, it looked too familiar for me to be vulnerable. Here's the news flash. A lot of times, it's not that it looks familiar when we are in it. We have to turn the light back on ourselves and say we have an issue with choosing familiar. The people we are choosing, before we can get into the relationship, we choosing the same man or woman. We have a type, a certain vibe of a person, and before you can get into it to see those familiar spirits, you can't even get to that point because you can't get past the fact that you've chosen a familiar image first. And so I think we got to deal with that. When we pick in these particular types and peoples, we get them. And then sometimes it comes down to us. If we don't show up differently, we're going to warrant the same response in each and every person we come across. It's like if you want to see something different from a man or woman, you really got to step way out your comfort zone to see if you're going to get a good or bad. And if you see the bad, don't take a long time hanging in there. Leave, right? But if you see the good, cling to it. But the point is, many of us, we're not honest that we are stuck in types and we pick accordingly. So here's one other part you brought up. So I thought you said something about getting on our feet or something. You said something about that earlier. So
about being independent and being able to stand on your own 2 feet.
Here is I'm saying this to ladies, but men can take the same advice from it. Here's the thing about not being keen to focus on what someone is bringing to your life. Let me tell you how men are. I can speak just about men. A man will come into your life, and if you accept him as he is, not saying he got to meet this tall ceiling bar of yours and all of this, but what I mean is we all know when a man comes in our life and he may not be quite ready to facilitate nothing with you. If you're being honest. And the reason why you know that, because that respect meter goes off in you and you be like, oh, I don't know, I could do this. Because you're thinking it don't look like what it should to you. It don't look like what it should. So you just kind of be like, but the point is this. Here are the dangers of not enforcing your table concerns. Because what a man will do, you'll take a man in, dress him, sit him at the table, and in his mind, this is great. She is accepting me just like I am. Right? I'm working on this and I ain't got it together, but I'm here. She's dealing with it. But what men will do, I'm sure you heard your mom has told you this. This is where it'll cut you in the gut. Men, I always say, be careful. You always got to make it your business to know why a person is in your life. Like, ask that question. Why are you here?
Right.
And you can hear it if it's a sincere answer. But the reason why I say that, because some people are in your life because it was opportunistic to do so.
Wow.
Not because they necessarily want to be there. It was you would look like a good opportunity. That's
Okay.
their real answer. And I'm only saying that because when you encounter someone like that, and let's just say that person runs into a stroke of luck, and now they have gotten something that has elevated them, elevated their money, elevated their ability to go get their own place or whatever. And what happens is a man will step up, he will arise to the occasion, and you done helped him get on his feet, right? And after you help him stand up and get on his feet, now your seat has just become expensive because he knows I'm on my feet. So what you gonna do for me? And men will turn it around and leave.
Wow.
You helped him get on his feet, and
Right.
he will come back and question you and your worth in his life when he get on his feet, and will leave.
Wow.
So that's why you got to know when you're with someone, man or woman, why are you here? Like, get that answer. It's important because some people will give you dry responses, and you need to take from that what you need to take. But you got to know when you riding this thing out, and you know that you have something to lose in your life. What are you here for? Like, what about me keeps you around?
Wow.
Is it just this? Is it the fact that I feed you often? Is it because of what you think can potentially come later? What is it? Or are you here because you love me? You need to kind of figure that out because too many of us are with people that we have no clue that they're only one come up away from dumping you.
Wow.
So you got to really understand who you with and who you investing in because some people you are good enough for right now.
Right.
But when better comes, holla. So yeah, you gotta look at it like that.
No, that's real talk, man. I'm glad you said what you said about the whole, knowing why people are in your lives. I think that is so important that we understand the purpose of people who are in our lives, and especially when it comes to being in relationships.
Yeah.
I've always said and I always believe that the only reason to get married to somebody is because you love them. Not because you get some financial advantage being with them, not because they got eyes, lips, hips, and fingertips and they look good and they can do what they do in the bed.
Yeah.
Not because they drive a nice car, got a big house. You know what I'm saying? Not because of any of that. If they don't love you and you don't love them, you need to leave them. You're not marrying for less than love. Love has to be the very foundation for why you do what you do. Love is the reason why you contribute, right? That's the reason why you contribute. That's the reason why you give the way that you give. And if you're not doing it for love, if you're not in my life to love me and I'm not in my life to love you, adios, amigos.
Hey, and look, if we don't learn enough of that, we see what's on display today. Where relationships are ended in tragedy.
Yeah.
Even marriages, like I talked about the situation in Maryland. And here's the kicker. Even the word says love covers a multitude of sins.
Yeah.
So think about it. If killing and murder is happening, no covering is happening. And if no covering is happening, no love is there.
Wow.
So you got to look at it like that. When somebody loves you, you can get on that last nerve. But before it even functionally gets to the place of wanting to harm you in that way, they're going to cover you and take the high road.
Yeah.
But when a person is willing to unveil it all and do you down, it ain't no love. We gotta stop. We gotta stop quantifying everything as love.
Right.
Meeting a fine man that cracks your back is not love. It's just ability.
Yeah.
Meeting a fine woman that got super neck is not love. It's just a talented ability. Meeting a woman because she's thick and look like a horse in your stable is not somebody that's necessarily a good wife. She looks great, but she may not be a good wife to you, right? And vice versa. He can be strapping, cut up thick with bald head, whatever your type. but he may not be the good man for you. So we got to get out of the physical and get into the internal to figure out why are you here and what do you bring? Because a lot of us are with people that we have had all of these, we have fooled ourselves that these intimate sessions that were amazing were somehow equated to unequivocally amazing love. And it's not. It's, sex will fool you.
Wow.
Many people have gotten married and connected and have died with people off of good sex.
Wow.
And found themselves, why do you think these people nowadays are going to the lengths that they are? These girls are killing the guys are killing the girls. And it's not because of love, it's because of control.
Wow.
When you tap into somebody's intimate buttons and you know how to turn it up and down on a dime, that's dangerous. It might be a talent on one hand. Okay, as a husband or wife, it's probably good as a good to have in your repertoire to be good with your person. But in real life, being a pleaser is dangerous.
Wow.
Because you don't know, you can't garner the response or the reaction of the other person. So they might be thinking everything is well, and you you wake up and you come outside, the person shooting a gun at you because they frustrated because you ignored their phone calls the night before.
Right.
So people are off the rails today, and the mental health thing tells us enough that we need to stop overlooking the things that are important.
Yeah.
And that table is the center of it all. So if the tables are where the meals are had. The tables are even where the tough conversations are had in the house. Think about back in the day when the family had something tough to talk about, we all sat around the table. So the table is key. So you want to make sure that the table is set to weather all seasons of life. So again, if you want the man, all I'm going to say is this. If women want the man to take the onus of the table, you got to allow him. But if you're the type of woman that you say, I don't need you to take the onus, just take half, then you need to live with that half. And don't bring it back up in my face later.
Wow.
Take your half and do what you have, and I'm going to deal with my half, and we're going to leave it at that. But you can't have it both ways. You can't have the man doing all this Superman, jumping off the building, and you just receiving. That's not life for a grown person that can function and take care of themselves and got a job and all that. We're not babies. So we got to be realistic with this exchange and this expectation that we're trying to expect out here nowadays. That's all. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
What in the world?
In this world? But no, I mean, you'd be surprised that this whole, people want to see you perform in so many words. People want to know, what does my investment get me? Heck, look at football. They'll trade you in a minute if you don't perform in one season. Heck, they'll cut you off mid-season. So just like in relationships, people want to see you perform. But the reality is we don't perform 24/7.
Right, we don't.
People don't perform 24/7. We live. We do things. Sometimes we lazy. Sometimes we boring. Sometimes we this, that, and the other. So the notion that somebody has to be lit 24/7 is a crazy one. It's irrational. Find someone who you could sit in a room with for hours and they reading a book and you creating music. And nobody's mad. Nobody has to leave. They're comfortable because we're in the same space. That's when you know you got a person for life. But if you with somebody, what are we doing? I mean, oh my God, I need to get out of here. That's the person who don't like being with you.
Right.
They be with you for transactions, but they don't want to be with you for life. So you need to be able to see between the two of them. And men do the same way. Well, he got to be gone and he don't want to be around. That's telling you he don't probably want to be with you for life.
Wow.
So you need to look at it because when he wants to be with you for life, he will sit down. That's just the bottom. Men sit down when they see the vision from up high. They sit down. But when they don't see the vision, it ain't happening. All right. So we appreciate you guys on tonight tuning in to another episode of Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. where today we talked about all things to table and what do you bring to it on tonight. So, well, we will definitely be back next week, same time, hopefully, and bring you some more stuff here. All right. Anything you got to say, Mr. Forbes, so we pass on to the next phase?
Usually, I don't want to say nothing after you done got off your soapbox and you done preached a whole nother message at the end of that, Joe. So I'm good. Take up the offering. Say the benediction. Let's go. Say the benediction. Let's go.
Oh, man. All right, Joe. All right. I'll let y'all. We'll see y'all here soon.
Ooh, Lord have mercy. Boy, it's crazy. Ooh.
All right. You
Yeah.
know, one last thing I have to add.
Uh-oh.
If you really think about it, it's really, in order to have a beautiful table, it really can be a joint effort.
Yeah.
Because let's just be honest. The men, if he's building the table, he gonna make sure the legs are tight, it's not wobbly, it's solid, it's polished like it should be.
Okay.
And the woman comes in and adds her talents of dressing it. And so, and in the end, you have this beautiful creation of a project
That's
that
right.
both of you all did together.
Exactly.
So now we look at the table conversation as not necessarily what do you bring, but how can we meet in the middle to bless each other
Right.
with this table and look at it like that.
Yeah.
And we'll be all right.
That's a perfect analogy, sir. That's it. Absolutely. Yep.
All right. All right. Well, you know, on this note, he said it was the perfect analogy, so we're going to just close out right here. All right. Anyway, see y'all next week.